This is a Fox Business Alert. Christie is a libertarian, or so he says. When you're sinking beneath the weight of your own bad decisions, what better lifeline for a public servant than to plead for less government? He hasn't been too kind to the limited government said historically, but I remain dubious. However, the Pro-Pot Coalition can always use big friends in high places, so who am I to complain? Seriously. I'll tell you who I am. I am Lady Liberty, and I got a band of freedom maniacs waiting to do business with those who stand in the way of truth and justice. This is only the beginning, baby. This is the Independence. Hi there, I'm Kennedy. I'm your hostess, and I'm wearing watermelon pink. I'm joined by Reason Magazine Editor-in-Chief Matt Welch, and, oh, that was such a nice wave, Princess. I love that. And Camille Foster from Free Think Media. Oh, look, regal. I love it. You win. We are the Independents. Also joining us for the ride tonight, Richard Fowler, host and executive producer of The Richard Fowler Show, and Rick Lazio, former New York Congressman. Welcome, gentlemen, to the Independents.
Thanks for having me.
Very sexy and beautiful, all of you. Very good. All right, they have braved the storm, the snow, and the whirling elements to be in studio with us tonight. Party panel, activate. First up, remember when Christie said this?
I just want us to be really cautious, because this strain of libertarianism that's going through both parties right now and making big headlines, I think is a very dangerous thought.
Oh, yeah. It's dangerous, buddy. That was the corpulent one discussing foreign policy. Yet today, in his inaugural address, the New Jersey governor said this.
We will end the failed war on drugs that believes that incarceration is the cure of every ill caused by drug abuse. We will make drug treatment available to as many of our nonviolent offenders as we can, and we will partner with our citizens to create a society that understands this simple truth. Every life has value, and no life is disposable.
I just want to make him a stack of Johnny cakes. It's certainly a welcome change, but aren't these two statements in direct opposition to one another? Isn't this a little hypocritical, Matt Welch?
Sure it is, but, you know, when the drug war ends, we're going to welcome a lot of hypocrites on the side of finally going against prohibition, which hasn't failed, which has failed and hasn't worked. Barack Obama has gone through the same thing. He declared that we no longer wage the drug war or use the phrase drug war 3 or 4 years ago.
Let's call it Susan.
Yeah, let's call it Susan, but he's been enforcing it ever since. He's now starting to soften on certain areas. So we've gotten to the point where now politicians see the value of having cheap rhetorical virtue. The next step, especially in someone like Christie, who has totally blocked medical marijuana in New Jersey from ever happening. He's done a lot of steps that haven't done anything to end the drug war, is now to see whether he's going to actually back up this rhetoric with actual deeds. A
little bit of gunfire.
Yeah, perhaps this is a political stunt, but if it is, this is a wonderful benefit from the bridge scandal that he finds himself embroiled in. And a quick comment on the president, he hates all metaphors. I remember he did away with the war on terrorism as well. We just don't like phrases like that. So if we get rid of the phrases, keep all of the same policies or expand them, maybe get a kill list, everything is fine.
Now, the interesting thing, Richard, welcome. The interesting thing about the drug war is the drug warriors and the friends of ending prohibition tend to come from confusing sides, because Patrick Kennedy, who was also a public servant, is saying that we have to outlaw pot because THC is so prevalent in marijuana now, and marijuana is genetically modified. So he's saying that the president is dangerous, and obviously someone like Christie is so far off base. How do you feel about all this?
Well, bananas are genetically modified as well, so I guess we should stop eating those. But I got to tell you, I think this is sort of this relic from Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan's war on drugs, say no to drugs, that continues to rear its ugly head, but really makes no sense, because you think about it, like, cigarettes is a worse vice than marijuana, I would argue. I'd argue alcohol is a worse vice than marijuana. Think about it. Alcohol, you wake up in a gutter, you wake up and not sure where you are.
Speak for yourself.
Maybe, yeah.
I never woke up in a gutter.
But I don't know where we come from.
These are the impacts of the drug. Whereas in marijuana, you know, hungry, want to go to IHOP, Denny's, possibly the Waffle House, depending on where you live.
Although there is a factual correction there. Bill Clinton also prosecuted the war on drugs. Barack Obama, until he got rid of the phrase, continues to prosecute the war on drugs, has locked up plenty of people.
I agree. I just think it was created by Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan.
Okay, but continued by Democrats and supported
by every administration. Yeah. Actually, George Bush was a little bit better. Rick Lazio, welcome to the Independent.
Thank you.
What do you think about all this? I mean, you're a Republican. Where do you stand? Because Republicans fall on both sides of this issue.
Well, listen, first of all, you talk about war on drugs. I think there's a huge distinction between pot and heroin. So having drug courts doing smart things, getting people into rehab, those are smart things to do. Sometimes, I will say as an ex-prosecutor, it's very useful to have the threat of incarceration to keep somebody in rehab because they sometimes flop out 3 or 4 times. It's a useful hammer to keep people in the system, getting the help that they need. I see you making a face.
It's the idea of the hammer. I don't know. It's the hammer that that bumps me out. But you know, we have to move on because of my sadness.
Okay,
my emotional
I'm
state.
sorry.
Topic because I'm a fragile woman. Next up, the World Economic Forum has been buzzing with income inequality. Oxfam released a report saying the 85 richest people in the world hold as much wealth as the poorest 50%. 85 people have more money than 3.5 billion. Is this wrong, Richard Fowler?
It is wrong.
Why?
It's just, the income inequality doesn't help anybody because as the richer continue to get rich, there's no sliding scale. It really just screws our economy up, generally speaking. Why? I'm in favor of raising the minimum wage here in the United States, so a living wage, so that people can work 40 hours a day and take care of their families. This is just basic logic here.
What's wrong with wealth, though?
So would you like a global scale, though? Is that what you'd like? Income inequality around the world will eliminate, because that's what we're talking about here.
No.
In which case, every single American in the country...
It is the World Economic Forum.
Almost every single American in the country makes more than $1 a day. If we redistribute all of the wealth per the policy that you just laid out and give everyone a living wage,
I didn't say to redistribute the wealth.
Oh, how do we get to
this living wage? They're kind of besties.
The same thing.
I think in the United States, we are the #1 purchaser of goods across the world, right? If we increase the minimum wage here and give folks who work hard for a living a chance to actually have a living, they will purchase more stuff, and when they purchase more things, people will make more things, and it sort of spreads out across. It's simple economics.
Okay, so why is Davos not focused on economic growth? I mean, if you want to get
raising
people,
minimum wage does increase
if you want to increase the
you
pie, so that more people can be employed, and there's more investment and more expansion, you think that's where they'd be coming from. You really, if you're just redistributing the pie that we have right now, you're not going to see the kind of mobility I think that you'd like to see and I'd like to see. You've got to have growth. That ought to be the single most important focus.
You need more bakers. You need more bakers. You need participation in the pie making process is exactly what you need. Thank you very much, Kennedy. Oh, you're welcome, sister. You never want to be the guy less popular than a crack-smoking mayor, but that's where President Obama finds himself right now. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford is on the comeback trail, sweaty as ever and regaining some love. He's got a 47% approval rating. Gallup finds Obama at 42.5%. Will Rob Ford make a full rebound by re-election season?
Obviously. I mean, we're talking about Toronto. When's the last time we talked about Toronto for more than a week and a half in the United States? He makes people proud. He's funny. I mean, New York loved Ed Koch. Koch? How do you pronounce it? It's been a long time. I'm from California.
Watch your language, man.
What?
Ed what?
No, I mean, people like their mayors to reflect their town, or at least to like that. Holy,
that's wonderful.
Yes.
His critics used to call him that.
Yeah, exactly. No, so yeah, he's a mayor. He's not. We look at presidents a little bit differently.
Yeah, he is a mayor, but he is a mayor of one of the most popular cities on the planet. Toronto is regularly in those top 10 lists, someplace in the top 3 of best cities on the planet, and apparently we have Rob Ford to thank for that. Yeah, that's great.
It's actually not. Well, I think you could say Montreal is really.
I think
but you think that it's unfair to compare these two?
Yeah, it's comparing apples and oranges. First,
genetically modified oranges.
Definitely genetically modified. Can't eat those. But I think that there's a reason why it's an unfair comparison. One, President Obama's running the entire country. Rob Ford really has absolutely no power if you look at the city's charter. He's just sort of there.
Yeah.
He's almost like the Queen of England, just a little bit wackier.
Yeah.
So he's more fun.
Have you seen her hats? Like, she's not smoking crack. She's taking peyote buttons.
Can you just imagine Rob Ford in a Queen Elizabeth hat? I think it would make it even more unique.
I would. They might have some power-sharing opportunities. Coming up next, Ron Paul breaks down the NSA. And will he talk about Rand running for president? And later on, I hit the snow-covered streets to give people a pop quiz.